Why is K-pop so special? Girls' Generation gave me hope and power. I don't like the direction that K-pop is taking a little bit when they follow these trends. I was like, this is cringy. Why are these girls acting like kids? And I had been in a depression for like 4 years. I just arrived in Seoul and I thought things were gonna happen for me. Yeah.
Video?
Yeah, now it's video.
Video?
Yeah.
ケント来てる。
あ、すげえ。
With that tree?
With the sky tree, wait a second.
お、いいね。
ああ、すげえ。
I wanted to share the story today of how I got into Korean culture, or Korea in general. It's a bit of a funny story and I've always wanted to share it on my channel. So here we go. So actually we have to go back all the way to 2009, 2010. At that time, I was a big fan of the Backstreet Boys. It's an American boy band, really popular in the 90s. Even like 10 years after their peak, I was still listening to their music and discovering new songs from the Backstreet Boys. Yeah, and around 2008, 2009, 2010, Lil Wayne, T-Pain, these type of rappers were really popular in the West, and that's all you could hear on the radio. So I was getting a little fed up with this sound. Even though I don't hate it, but you know, I wanted more diversity. And so I started to just look on the internet for new songs in general. Yeah, and that ended up with me just writing the word song on YouTube with a typo. I added an extra O. So when I pressed enter, the face of Sonyeoshide Suyoung with the music video O, right? The Girls' Generation song O showed up, and it had just been released, I think, like a week prior of me finding this video. I was just intrigued by the thumbnail, I guess, and the Korean title, so I clicked on it, and then I spent like what, maybe like 30 seconds watching it, and then I just turned it off. I was like, this is cringy. Why are these girls acting like kids? I've honestly never seen anything like this before. So yeah, that was that. But then the next day, I got curious, and I was like, what was that video I watched yesterday? Yeah, I thought it was Japanese. I thought what was that Japanese video I watched yesterday? And then I went back to watch it again, just to make peace with the cringe. You know, just try to understand what this video is about. And then I went back and I watched it. And I was like, wow, the song is pretty catchy. And the girls look good too. I was like, okay. So then I clicked on the next song. And then I saw G. And then I started to get attached to the members, right? I started to recognize, that's the girl from this video, you know, or Jessica or whatever. And then I started to get attached, and I started to discover that there was a whole world of this, right? Of K-pop groups, and what is K-pop in general. And then I saw Girls' Generation partner up with Super Junior, make some videos. with I don't know, Big Bang. Especially an early video that I watched is the promotional video for the City of Seoul, SEOUL, Super Junior and Girls' Generation. And that video kind of changed everything for me, to be honest. Before going into this, I just wanted to speak a little bit about this K-pop industry thing that I discovered at that time. So I've always been into like pop groups, right? Boy bands, etc. And you know, in the West, we had like Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, 98 Degrees, Spice Girls, but that was it, you know, like a handful of groups. And they were not really competing in any way. They were just doing their thing and had different audiences, I think. But now with K-pop, what I saw was like a whole competition, like a whole universe and plethora of groups that are all competing like 4 times a week, right? Think about it. Mnet, Music Bank, Music Core, Inkigayo. That's like 4 days a week where you're competing against other groups with live performances. And we're not even talking about music videos, variety shows, etc., where they're all still competing to be the most likable, the most popular group. So I was like, so there's a world where people loved that type of pop music so much that they made like a whole industry, competitive industry around that, you know? And the fandom was there too. The fandom followed. I had started to read stories about how intense the Girls' Generation fan club was, and fights that would break out, and stuff like this. And I was like, wow, people are really into it. So it's like, unconsciously, I started to kind of get into the mood of this whole fandom vibe, punigi. And yeah, that leads me to the SEOUL video. Once I've seen this video, SEOUL, first of all, the song was amazing. The scenery was amazing. They were really able to sell you a dream. Seoul looked so nice in this video. They showed us Cheonggyecheon. They showed us the Namsan Tower. They showed us, the scenery that you can see from the mountain and the Insadong. They showed us a lot of spots, the Hangang River. So they really made Seoul look super cool. So from that point on, I knew I wanted to go to Seoul at some point. So it worked. It worked. Well, what can I say? This is the truth, right? I was in a place in my life at that time that wasn't easy. I had been, at that point, I was maybe 21 or something, and I had been in a depression for like 4 years. I was kicked out of my school for not attending, which is a pretty good reason. I had like 5 classes and I've never been to any of them. I was just depressed. I was staying at home. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I think it's a situation that a lot of young people go through, especially after high school. In Quebec, there's what we call Cégep, which is a school between high school and college. And during that time, you need to have like very good grades if you want to become like a doctor or lawyer, etc. Yeah, and I had started like this program with like really bad grades. Like the first few exams were kind of bad, and that put me like in a depressive state that just like worsened over time, like pretty quickly. So instead of going to school, I got addicted to a game called World of Warcraft, which I played over many years. And I was lost. Plain and simple, I was kind of lost. I didn't know what I was doing every day. I had also started the army. Oh, look at that. Pretty nice, right? After getting kicked out of the school, I couldn't reapply for another year or two. So I decided to get enrolled with the army, the Canadian Army. But it was only the reserve, so I didn't have to like actually join the real army, but I could train and get paid as a soldier. I ended up doing the army thing for like a year or two, and my desire to go to Korea was always growing during these years. And I ended up going to China first because one of my friends at the time, had his sister in China and he really wanted to visit. And I thought, I could go to China and then maybe I could stop by Korea. But we ended up going to China and Mongolia, and the Korea trip never happened. It's kind of hard when you're traveling with other people to force them to do something they don't really want to. Instead, what ended up happening was I went to China, and then when I came back from China, I started to prepare to go to Korea. And what I mean by prepare is I wanted to be a K-pop star, right? If you've watched my previous videos, you'd know that. So my desire to simply wanting to visit Seoul transformed into this type of dream to become a K-pop star. But I'm talking like in 2012, right? When even Psy's Gangnam Style wasn't out yet. So I started to take some dance classes in Montreal. Hip hop, pop and locking, even breakdance and yoga. You know what? Let me sit down because the light is becoming an issue. And at the same time, while taking these dance classes, I was saving up money to go to Korea. Yeah, and I was working the night shifts in a convenience store in downtown, and I did that for around 6 months. When I finally got enough money, I just packed my bags and took a working holiday to go to Korea. And I gotta tell you though, I had no idea what I was doing. Uh, I had no plan. I didn't really speak Korean. I started practicing a little bit, but I just arrived in Seoul and I thought things were gonna happen for me. You know, I didn't believe it like 100%, but I just thought that, you know, by going there, there weren't a lot of foreigners at that time in Korea, right? So I thought like, okay, I would be a little special and I would have this passion. Maybe if I show up in front of the JYP's office, they would see something in me, or they would give me a chance, or any other. I remember I was also interested in the FNC studio, the CN Blue studio. So I arrived in Seoul. I started to take dance classes in Hongdae. I did only a few classes, and then I also participated in the audition for K-pop Star 2. So the second edition. I passed the first round, but not the second one. So I went to perform live in front of 3 judges. I did 2 songs at a time. I did the Boom 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 from Roy Kim, which maybe wasn't a good idea because I think Roy Kim was from Superstar Kid or another audition program that was like competing with K-pop Star. So maybe that wasn't the best idea, but I was really stressed out. It was my first audition. So I was playing the guitar at the same time and I was singing. So I didn't do like a great job. And then they asked me to sing another song. So I had only prepared this song in Korean. So I sang Maroon 5, She Will Be Loved for the second one. Yeah, but I didn't pass, and that's all right because I think the people who got in or succeeded with the first auditions are few. So I had to keep trying, but the thing is, living in Seoul is not cheap, and I didn't have enough money, so I had to start working part-time, which then became kind of full-time, right? And then which transformed into a Korean style type of work, right, where we're working like 12 hours a day, sleeping at the job, in restaurants, etc. So the dream took a break, let's say. But I was still like enjoying my life in Seoul. I was still loving it. You know, I still love the city. I love the vibes. Yeah. I'm gonna stop here for my life story because we're kind of getting away from the initial topic of like my how I got into Korean culture or Korea. So yeah, so my first contact with Korea was through K-pop. And then actually I realized that I had like a first taste of the Korean culture when I was really young. I used to love this movie called The Three Ninjas. I watched it many, many times with my brothers and sisters. So there's a scene where the kids are in the streets of Japan in a limousine. And in the background, we can hear the music Soteji. Soteji and the boys, Nan Arayo. And that song was like so hype and so cool at that time. And me and my brothers and sisters, we loved that song, but we didn't know it was we didn't know it was Korean, and we didn't know it was like the beginning of K-pop, let's say. One of the first K-pop songs. All this to say that Girls' Generation gave me hope and power in a time where I had nothing. It's hard to explain for people who are not really into music or into these type of groups, but I don't know, just to see like a youthful group having fun together, living life, that gave me something to look forward to.
뭔가 많아졌어. 아, 뭐야. 아, 뭐야. 마사지. 이 장단.
You know, in my city, in Montreal, like any other cities, when you're in a bad place and you stay in the same environment, that can really affect your mood, right? And I don't come from the best financial situation either. And when you're trapped in a routine of which you cannot really get out, because maybe you can't get a job and then you don't have enough money to do what you want to do, and eventually that gives you maybe poor grades at school, and then you're just trapped in this cycle where even meeting your friends has no meaning because your life has no meaning. So when you're in this kind of situation, you need to leave. That's what I think. I think you need to leave. You need to go somewhere else, start over. You know, the pressure of your friends and family, this social pressure is real. Even if they're nice, you know that they expect you to be something. You know that they expect you to work hard and attain certain objectives, and you need to find yourself before you can do that. And I know it sounds like what every other person says, you know, you need to find yourself, but you really need to understand where you want to go, who you are, of course, but where you want to go so that you can employ the right methods to go there. So yeah, I guess K-pop gave me a goal when I didn't have any. And for the next 10 years of my life, I've just dedicated everything, all my time, all my energy to learn more about Korea, to politically, historically, language. I don't know if you've seen Family Guy. It's like a cartoon TV show, but in one of the scenes, they show a video of Sistar, Touch My Body. And Peter Griffin, the main character, is like looking at this scene and he's just like in awe. And then he says, "What is this and how can I make the rest of my life about it?"
What is this, and how can I make the rest of my life about it?
It was really funny that they really captured the essence of K-pop fans. So if you're wondering, like, why are so many foreigners interested in Korea and K-pop? Like, why is K-pop so special? I really think it's about the energy and the dynamism of the whole industry. It's not a dying industry, and it's not like there's only a few groups who are singing and stuff. It's the complete opposite of that, right? It's a competition of hundreds and hundreds of groups. And it's a bit like the egg and chicken situation, whereas why are there so many groups? You know, why are there so many K-pop groups? Is it because there's a huge K-pop fandom? Or is there a huge K-pop fandom because there are so many groups? I don't know personally if K-pop is as big as it used to be in during the second generation K-pop era. I mean, in Korea, because in the world, yeah, obviously now it's much, much bigger. But I guess it's bigger than before, even in Korea. In some sense, it's kind of weird because, you know, rock music, rock and roll, really inspired like a lot of young people to rebel and be free, right? Because the intensity of the music and the lyrics and even the style was so like new and extreme that it made people really want to be free and change their lifestyle. And a lot of young people, I think, felt attached to this genre of music, and they found their own truth, their own way through this music. And K-pop is doing the same thing. Well, it did the same thing for me, which is weird when you think about it, because we went from like a strong electric guitar with like kind of like F the system mentality to like girls dressed in white, dancing, talking about friendship and love.
어제 작은 다툼에도 오늘 웃고 안아주고 감싸주기 자 서로 약속 한 발 다가가면 두 발 멀어지지만 조금 더 가까이 옆에 꼭 붙었었어 안아줄래 오늘은 내 맘 모두 보여줄래.
It's weird, like even though most of K-pop don't have this symbolism of like rebellion or finding your way, etc. K-pop still manages to inspire a lot of young people, right? And maybe because it's different, maybe because in the West we've been fed this narrative of over-sexualization and like, you know, big stuff and big butts and stuff like that. And I don't like the direction that K-pop is taking a little bit when they follow these trends, but that's another topic and for another time. Because I've always felt that K-pop has its own color and they don't have to necessarily imitate every trend that comes from the States. I know that pop in general is, you know, a Western-inspired music, and that's fine, and you can still draw inspiration from the West. But I felt like towards the end of 2015, K-pop had found its own color, and now I feel like maybe I'm old school, but I feel like they're losing it a little bit by trying to conform too much to American popular music. This is also linked to the fact that American music and K-pop are kind of fusioning right now, right? They're kind of fusioning. Today, K-pop artists are international artists. They're popular all over the world. So we're starting to lose this distinction between K-pop and American pop. It's interesting, really interesting. I do love the new groups though. I do love all the new songs that are coming out, and I hope that K-pop continues to be bigger and stronger. But then maybe in the next video I'll speak a little bit more about how I was able to combine my passion for Korea and my passion for history. How I kind of put my dream of entertainment on the side for many years to pursue this study of Korean history. That's for our next video. Now I'm going back to Korea. So I'll see you in the next one.